This is Courage and Cannabis show, where we bring you insightful conversations with the authors of the number one best-selling books, Courage and Cannabis. I'm your host, Candy Flores, and today we're diving into the community. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Courage and Cannabis show, where we bring you insightful conversations with the authors of the number one best-selling books, Courage and Cannabis. I'm your host, Candy Flores, and today we're diving into the community that makes the cannabis space great. Today we have with us Kim Hughes from Oklahoma City, known as Kimmie Cannabis, sharing her story of advocacy and how she creates a canna-friendly environment in her community. Welcome, Kimmie. How are
Hello,
you?
hello. How are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Good.
Before we embark on this literary journey, a quick shout out to our sponsors of the book series who help make this podcast possible. Compass Naturals, Indo Vibe Cannabis Centers, Spender, The Cannamom Show, Blev 614 Network, Cannabis BPO, Columbus Botanical Depot, Daga Digital Marketing, Hempok, etc., Ohio Medical Marijuana Physicians Association. Remember, the Courage and Cannabis book series is a project of the Growth, Harmony, and Happiness Community Foundation. This is Courage and Cannabis. You can learn more about each of these authors and our community in courageandcannabis.com. Now let's get started. Kim, can you share with our guests a little about your experience on how you started your advocacy and your private studio called Hair Sesh?
Well, sure. My journey with advocacy started with probably about 6.5 years ago. I had lost my father to an accidental prescribed opioid overdose in 2001. I had a couple kids that had fought opioid addiction through pharmaceutical, um, you know, doctor prescribed, and then went to harder drugs.
Mhm.
I've lost family members. So I really became very aware of what the opioid epidemic was doing. And in my chair, being a hairdresser of 39 years, I heard stories all the time that were similar to mine, or
Mhm.
a little, like families affected by opioid addiction. And I had always been a cannabis fan. Always been a cannabis fan.
Mhm.
I remember loving the smell since I was 7. I knew I was a hairdresser, wanted to be a hairdresser since 5, and I knew I loved the smell of cannabis since 7. Now at 55, I am a hairdresser, cannabis advocate. So I knew what I wanted back then. I go back to that all the time, like little girl Kim knew. But plant over
Amazing.
pills, yeah, it really is when I look in hindsight. Plant over pills is a huge message that I like to advocate for. Um, there's a lot of stigma. This reefer or look, I'm in the back. Reefer madness that's been out there. I've heard a lot in my chair.
Right.
So to share those stories with like share what I know with people, it's
Mhm.
only seems right being a hairdresser. So I started carrying hemp
Absolutely.
derived CBD products, using hemp derived
Mhm.
shampoos. They're the nutrients that's in hemp oil alone, hemp seed oil alone. I mean, it only goes hand in hand with being in the spa business, right? So um, I
Right.
started introducing my clients to non psychoactive avenues to healthy. Started kind of teaching about endocannabinoid system, trying to break that stigma, that reefer madness stigma that they've been, you know. I
Right.
have tons of clients in my chair that I will hear have like 13 prescriptions. That's scary to
Right.
me. I mean, it
Yeah,
is so
absolutely.
scary to me. So I just try to advocate in those ways, and
I,
just kind of eased into it more and more, you
right.
know?
Right. And I bet those are some very intimate conversations because I know while I'm sitting with my hairdresser, a lot of times we, get into conversations that, because you're relaxed and you're, if you're using the same hairdresser, of course you feel comfortable. So you open
Yes.
up to each other. So I'm sure that your clients, appreciate all that you do for them. Not only while
It's
you're
a
doing their
trust.
hair, but you're yes, absolutely.
It totally is a
Yes.
relationship, and
And
it's
the
a trust that's built. So I feel like that if anybody can give them advice that way that knows them, I know their families, I know their grandmas, their kids, like a lot of people in my chair. Um, like it gets me emotional
Yeah.
because I've heard so many powerful stories in my chair, and I've heard so many horrible
Mhm.
stories, and where cannabis could have helped. And so for me, like after COVID, post COVID, I figured out how to do
Mhm.
a in-home studio for right now. And I brought that, like, that safety with the post COVID stuff. And I made an
Mhm.
oasis
Mhm.
where people could sesh in the backyard. And it's a lot, of course, if they have a medical card, I will say that, we are a medical state in Oklahoma.
Right,
So,
definitely.
but it's
Yes,
just
definitely
working
have their
out.
medical card.
Yeah. I know we're all
Awesome.
different.
Let's
There with the
see.
CBD and stuff, you'd like to
Yeah.
go all across the US with that. It's not just legal states. So that's what the important part of that was for me too, to advocate across the US, not
Right.
just Oklahoma.
Right. Sweet, sweet. Hopefully that's helped a lot of other hairdressers because definitely, we want to be able to have it everywhere, just like
Yeah.
you said, across the nation. What was the most challenging aspect of building your private studio? Did you
Well,
have any
I really
trouble or
honestly did I have any what?
did
I
you run into
I
any problems or was it just a conversion during COVID and it just
Yeah, it just really
built
flowed
from
because
there? Or?
people loved having a little bit more of a private space at that time, anyways. They didn't necessarily want to go back
Mhm,
into
mhm.
like a full service salon with like 8 or 10 people working. So
Right.
they felt better. They knew I
Mhm,
sanitized before, in between. I think the thing for me,
mhm,
when I went full force that way, they knew I was a cannabis advocate for hemp derived CBD and stuff. But when I went home, they learned
mhm.
that I was for all of it. And, I was done
Right.
hiding in the closet. Um, how Kimmie Cannabis was created was I did a character, and I went to work and held my 788 sign right before we were voting. It was Halloween.
Mhm.
And I, like a lot of people say, they do their advocating in their own way. So people didn't know me, they didn't know who
Right.
I was. But I was this hairdresser that was like, I want cannabis legal. I need it. So we need it. And so I created this character, and my clients encouraged me to keep doing it. So it's all their fault. It's their fault. I don't know, like the leaf character, the one I put the head on. So they influenced me too.
But I'm sure they don't regret it. I'm sure they're very honored now that, you got to where you're at now. Because look, I know now we have High N Heelz and, you've got your own talk show. And so I think, you know, you're doing a great
Yeah,
job.
there's
Thank you for all
thank you
your
very much,
advocation and
Sandy. Thank you.
yeah, because you're
One of
definitely not just a hairdresser. I feel like hairdressers are also our therapists, because it's like I said, it gets pretty intimate, in their conversations.
I really feel that the reason why I can interview or sit with people and I can build relationships a
Mhm,
little easier than some people is because of my hairdresser connection. People really do have that connection
mhm,
with their hairdresser, and they feel that. And I feel that when I'm sitting with people, that they still can, even though I'm not doing their hair and I might be interviewing or doing something else, they want to just spill their stories to me. Um, no matter where I am, they just want to talk. So if I can share that put those stories out there. I'm self-employed. I don't have to worry about a boss firing me because I'm too mouthy about cannabis or something, you know. So I figure I'm going to use my
Mhm.
throat
Mhm.
chakra, and I'm going to project, you know, as much out there as I can to combat the opioid epidemic that still exists. Um, because it's a
Yes.
thing. We have cannabis heals so many things, and I've seen it in my chair from Parkinson's to mental health to, I mean, like so many things, to my
Mhm.
RA, you know, insomnia.
Yes.
I mean, people have
Mhm.
stories and they can all use
Yeah,
it. So,
absolutely. Yes,
yeah.
100%. I totally agree with you.
Canna
So,
talk about it
go ahead.
lets me do that with people too on another level. You know, like so that
Mhm.
is why we started that, so we could share the stories out there a little more, just like you're doing, which I so appreciate what you guys are
Yes.
doing, sharing stories. I appreciate you having me on for this. It takes you. It
Yes,
takes a
absolutely.
community, you
Thank you
know.
for Yes. Yes, it does. Yes, and your energy is great, and I feel what you're doing is very powerful because I'm sure that you've actually with your advocating and you opening up to your clients, I feel that you've created more advocates to come out of the closet. Have you
Yeah,
seen that
I feel that too.
to where they open up and now they're advocating just like you in different ways?
Yeah. Yeah, because we have
It's
average.
amazing.
That is why High N Heels was really important to me, because we have had a dirty hippie stereotype. I mean, basically
Hmm.
grungy, lazy, potheads don't do, you know, like this is the stereotype that's been given to so many people, and that's how they've always viewed it. Okay. And if we can
Hmm.
show that
Hmm.
we are people out there, we are business owning people, we are advocating, we are family people. I'm a grandma of 10, I've got 4 adult kids. I have, you
Hmm.
know, partied before. I've done all the things. Cannabis has never done anything to ruin my life, you know? There's so many of
Hmm.
us in the
Yeah.
closet. And it's important to know that we're out here and we need to shine next to each other. Show that, like High N Heels, we raise money. We have local artists come together. We raise money for charity. We get bougie. Um, there's no dirty hippie about it.
Very
We're
classy.
community
Very
with
classy
you, and
event.
yeah, we're doing all the things you do, you know, like, because we're you. You know, we are you. We
Hmm.
are
That's
community,
that's
just,
right.
you know. So people
That's
just need
right.
to be more
We
aware
have
of
a
that.
question from one of our guests. So one of our questions from our guests is, what do you recommend cannabis wise for healthy hair and nail growth?
Okay, so I always say go from the inside out, because if we are healthy from the inside, all of our things grow and do better. I know that there's some topical things out there that they will say will help grow or whatever. And I know that, like, you know, we have other chemicals that do that. But as far as cannabis,
Hmm.
doing like, say, a hemp derived full spectrum oil under the tongue sublingually every day, like clockwork, 2 times a day, you are like just getting so balanced that all of your stuff starts working. I have to tell you, I stopped wearing readers after having them for several years after I was on CBD for a few years. And it's because something was off balance in me. I didn't need them because of it, was probably inflammation or something. Okay. I don't wear readers anymore.
Got it. Hmm.
So if you
Right.
do stuff from the inside out, sometimes it fixes and grows and
Right.
healthier, and you know. So I always suggest that
Yeah. So
first.
definitely balance your ECS. That's
Yes. It's the
right.
most important thing. We need it in the health
Yes,
books.
I agree.
That is one of my missions, is to just keep grinding that. Who's going to get that in the health books for us? Make that
That's right.
normal. The largest
One
system in
more
our
question.
bodies.
That's right. One more question. What difficulties did you have creating a cannabis friendly salon?
Now, because it's a studio in my house, um, I didn't have difficulties in the ways of maybe having a bigger salon would be. I know
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
because of health department rules and cannabis laws, you would have to be, you know, you'd have to go by what you have in your state.
Your state,
I
yes.
would really like to do a bigger private salon where you would have like a separate
Hmm.
smoking area, like from the salon. So it's not like smoke in the face and stuff like that. And I think as long as any place in our state that you are allowed to smoke cigarettes, you are supposed to be allowed to
Hmm.
smoke cannabis. So I would argue that all day long if they came for me. Like
Right. No,
all day
definitely.
long. I have a smoking session or section. It says it designated 420. And
Hmm.
they can smoke. So, it's not,
Right. And you're on
but
private
if it were,
property.
yes, and if it were under the nose or in the face, something like that, you would probably have a little bit more difficulty with that with health department laws because we are thankfully managed by an entity that keeps us safe and sterile for people from, other things. So we don't want
Hmm.
that to go
Hmm.
away. In the salon industry, we want you safe.
Yeah. So we have Waxy Brown in the house, and he's saying barbers in Missouri they serve beers. So you're doing way much better.
Thank you so much. That is my point. Like to that, I'm always like, listen, you can have a glass of wine if you'd like, but um, there's a if you brought yours, it's right out there.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
we're allowed to have THCA everywhere now too, right? So I,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
actually have pre-rolls in my salon now too, that because I can sell those, I can have pre-rolls on my shelf as a salon owner now. So they could get one of those. It's totally, legal across. They don't have to have a med card for it. They can take it out back
Yes.
too. So
Right. That's right.
normalize
So
it.
it looks like the same, yeah. And pretty much in every state, I feel like they serve beer at the barber shops where you're getting your haircut, or you get your nails done, they serve you wine or
Yep.
margaritas, or why
Yep.
can't, for us that choose not to drink alcoholic beverages, why can't we, consume something medicinal, that has medicinal value in it?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. The
What about during the winter?
So in the winter time, depending on my client list, I would allow vaping
Hmm.
sometimes in the salon. Like it just depends on who I have around each other because I have to be mindful of that. Sometimes, it depends on
Hmm.
if it's people I know, they could always go in my house. You know what I'm saying? If they needed to do that, I do have heaters too. But when I do go bigger, it will be
Right.
a heated area, you know?
Mm, sounds good. Okay, we'll take one more question from the audience.
I saw that.
Oh,
You would be more than
definitely.
welcome to have a seltzer
Daniel
with me.
Waxy. Yeah.
Yes, we do not have a wine system, but we do have an endocannabinoid system. So when people say,
That's right.
mommy needs a glass of wine, well, mommy needs a joint like that one, our friend Hemp, the hemp lady in Texas too. She, I can't think of
Uh-huh.
her, hemp housewife. She has it
Oh, yeah,
going
yeah.
on that way,
Mama needs a
promoting
minute.
that. Yes,
Yeah.
mom, that's what it is. I'm sorry. But I
Mama
love
needs a
that
minute.
because that is what it is. Like, go do
Yeah.
that. We have an endocannabinoid system. Go feed it. And talk to your grandma
Yes,
about how many
absolutely.
prescriptions she had. That is like one of the biggest things that I can say to community is
Right.
a lot of people don't realize, but when older people have prescriptions, sometimes they forget if they've taken
Mhm.
some. Okay? That means that they will double
Mhm.
do it
Yo, yeah.
sometimes. You could have an accidental
Right.
overdose
Absolutely.
from grandma without even knowing it, and they just deem it a heart attack in the morning. Okay? Like this stuff probably happens more
Mhm.
than we talk about with our elders. Um, Start talking to them about, at least trying CBD, gummies, something
Right.
different than all the pills. And, there's things like honey and, like where you can make their meal at night with some, putting butter on their
Right.
stuff. It
Different
doesn't have to
consumption.
be
Yeah,
smoking. It's not about smoking. You can use oils, you
that's
can
right.
use edibles. There's all kinds of things.
Mhm.
Suppositories. Those are things that
That's
come up
right.
in the chair.
Patches. Yeah,
Yes, they even
that's
have it
right.
because it's National Women's History Month. They even have THC lubricants and things like that. I just have to say, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff out there
Yes,
for us that
absolutely.
people don't know. So hairdressers get to
That's
spread
right.
that news.
Yes, that'd be great. We need more of you out there. So as we wrap up, what message or takeaway do you hope people to take away from your story
Well, I would hope always
or
to
your
break the
advocacy? Mhm.
stigmas on judging people, judging them for
That's
cannabis
right.
use. I always like, quit judging people. Just if you don't want to
That's
do
right.
it, that's fine. Don't do it. But I honestly don't want
Hmm.
to die of an opioid overdose, because I have the same thing my father has. And my father died 3 years
Hmm.
previous to my age now. He was 51 years old. Like
Oh,
4 years, I
yes.
guess I'm in denial. I just turned 55. So, you know, cannabis brought me back to life. Like I started working out. I started doing all kinds of stuff with like just CBD. So normalize it and quit
Right.
judging people. It's not all that bad. And
That's
if
right.
you had a bad experience, it could be about the terpenes, it could be about the milligrams, it could be about the strain. There's
That's
people
right.
out there that will help you. There's cannabis consultants. There are people that will go to the doctor with you and talk to them about your needs, because they don't
That's
really
right.
know like Dr.
Hmm.
Bridget does. You know, not all doctors know.
That's right. No, that's right. We definitely need more of Dr. Bridget's as well.
Yeah, we definitely need
Well,
Dr.
thank you
Bridget's
so
our number.
much, Kim.
Thank you.
Oh, yes,
Thank you.
100%. We definitely
I
need to clone her.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Kim, for sharing your thoughts and experiences with us today. Before we go, where can our listeners find out more about you and connect with you online?
Well, I am on Facebook under Kim Hughes, Kimmie Cannabis. I have my salon one there, but you can find me that way and connect to all the things. Can I talk about it? TikTok, I have a huge platform. Of course, we don't smoke or anything on TikTok, but I like to do the messages. Instagram, can I talk about it in Kimmie Cannabis? And here's such too, but I usually post my
Perfect.
most of my cannabis stuff over to the bigger ones that there's more people on, you know. So,
Perfect.
but
Perfect.
share away, come join.
Wonderful. Yes, absolutely. Follow her on Facebook and Instagram.
And
Wonderful. And to
High
our
N
listeners,
Heelz,
thank you for joining us on this episode. Yes, High N Heels. That's right.
October 19th. I got to say it.
Y-
October 19th in Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City. That's right. Okay, well, wonderful. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this episode of Courage in Cannabis. The community stories, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast, and stay tuned for more captivating conversations with authors sharing their courage in cannabis. To learn more about Courage in Cannabis, go to courageincannabis.com and you can purchase the books on Amazon. Until next time, happy reading.
Peace, love, and all that good stuff.